Hello, everybody. Hi. So my name is E. This is E's Creations Paint Party, and it's Tuesday. What? So, How To Tuesdays. Tonight we're going to learn all about fur. Fur. That furry stuff. You know, that stuff that's on your little fur babies that gets all over your house. That stuff. Yeah. So we're going to learn how to paint fur. If you're painting animals, to make your creations that much better. So say hello. If you're practicing with me tonight, it's a practice session, so there's no like painting to look at. We're going to create as we go. And of course we have to give props to my fur baby, right? Because he might chime in, you never know. Say hello to your fans, Butters. Hey, Butters, what are you doing? What are you doing, buddy? There. He's snacking. Alright, let me show you my handy dandy table. So, I have all these different brushes. I'll let you know when I'm using it. My water, the palette, which we're going to put the same colors on. When you clean your brushes, you want to swirl them, tap them, dab them on the paper towel in the shape of your bristles. You want them to be wet but not dripping. Alrighty, so Cynthia is here. Hello, Cynthia. Cynthia's hanging out with us tonight, and Kristen is here. How you doing, Kristen? Hello, sweetheart. So, say hello if you're painting with us. Of course, you know I love to do roll call. Lisa V in the house. What? Hello, Lisa V. Just a reminder, all my videos are kid-friendly, so I'm going to watch this thing. And you guys watch comments, okay? And it's always free to watch. Tips are appreciated. And you can hit stars, or there should be a link to PayPal if I press my buttons correct. Who knows? I don't know if I press buttons right. Hello, Shirley. Welcome, sweetheart. We got a newbie in the house. Shirley is here. What? Everybody give a warm E's Creations fam welcome to Shirley. Hello. Gina. Hi, Gina. How are you, lovey? How you doing, sweetheart? Gina's on. Hello, sweetheart. All right. So, I'm working on a 16 by 20 canvas. 16 this way, 20 that way. But like I said, tonight's practice session. Get your mixed media paper out. Get your piece of cardboard out. Get a little canvas you don't mind covering up. It's all good. That's how we roll around here. That's how we roll. All right. So, hi, Tina M. How you doing, honey? So, I was trying to think of an animal that I could show you all types of fur on. So, we're going to do a lion. So, I hope you're really excited about that, because I'm excited about that. I'm going to pour my paint. And not only are we going to do a lion, we're going to do a rainbow lion. Because I figured, what's the best way to show you guys how to paint fur, and that you'll see all the little different things I'm doing, and the different areas that we're working on and creating certain ways. And you know what? I figured doing it in rainbow colors will be the most sufficient way. So, I hope you're excited. I'm excited. Same colors every single video. Yellow, red, blue, white, and black. Alrighty, so I'm going to swirl tap that big boy. He's a 1-inch flat. Okay, and I'm going to find my center. Find my center. So, you guys that are interested in painting animals, I did do a how-to on animals. I did some animal silhouettes. I showed you how to do a face. Diane is here. We got another newbie in the house. Oh, yeah. Hello, Diane. So, everybody give a warm E's Creations hello to Diane. Oh, and Ruby. There isn't, boy, 3 newbies tonight. That's what I'm talking about. Hi, Tina B. Hi, Brenda. I think Brenda's new too. Hello, everybody. How you doing? Welcome to the fam. All that good stuff. Good job, guys. Say hello. So, I'm going to find my center. And we're going to do our little animal trick. So, I'm going to grab blue and white with my 1-inch flat. And remember this shape that I didn't know what to call it? Remember this shape? Right? This is going to be our shape. And this has to be a little long because lions have a very long snout. So this is our shape. This is the shape we start with every time we do an animal, because this helps you know where to put the certain things on their face. So I love you guys. You guys are awesome. So the first thing you have to do, right? Acrylic paint's all about layering. So obviously we got to get the first layer on. All right. So what am I going to do next? Right now I'm going to basically put in a basic shape for his head. Okay. And we're going to start doing our, there's one thing, we're going to start doing our layering. Yeah, I'll get my mouth to work eventually. Diane is here. Hello, 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 Diane. The mouth will follow the brain eventually. I don't know when, but it will eventually. So the one thing about fur is always, 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 follow the direction of the fur, even when you're just starting out painting your animal, okay? So always, always, always follow the direction of the fur. So above his eyes, it goes up, okay? So like I said, we got to put our first layer on. So above his eyes, the fur goes up, okay? So you want to make sure that you're following that. And I am just kind of doing a little flick here, right? Getting the fluffiness started for my fur, getting that little fluff going on. Okay, getting the brush strokes the way I want them to. All right, so easy peasy lemon squeezy, guys. Okay, so down his snout, right? The snout goes up in the center. Hello, 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 Penny. Penny, your kick went out today. Yes. All right, so the snout goes up, okay? That goes up, right? So make sure we put that going up, all right? The sides of his face go out with a little bit of a lift, a little bit of an upwards motion, but the sides of his face go out, okay? So you want to make sure that you are following the direction of the fur. Okay, so that goes out. Underneath, you're welcome, sweetheart. Underneath, right, it's going to start pointing down. So we're going to have it start going down. So whatever animal you're doing, it doesn't matter what the animal is, from squirrels to, I don't know, I can't think of a big... From squirrels to lions. Oh, yes, everybody. Oh, no, Penny. All right, Penny needs healing wishes, guys. Everybody has to send Penny healing wishes. Okay, so on his snout, I'm going to do like a little triangle action here. I'm going to do a little triangle action right there, all right? And I'm going to do that because the fur on the snout is small. All right, that's why I picked the lion, because he basically has every type of fur. So I am just going to fill this in without doing any flicks, because this is really tiny, tiny, tiny fur, right? Like chipmunk fur. Okay, so we're going to just fill that in without doing any flicks on it, okay? And then the same for his cheekers, right? The cheekers has that tiny, tiny, tiny fur, okay? So we're not going to do any flicking for the cheekers. We're just going to fill that in to get a layer on here of color. Okay, to get a layer of color on here. Okay, so we're just going to fill that in as cheekers. Okay, notice I'm following that guide that I made, right? The cheekers went into that, and then the eyes are going to go into there. All right, and then his mouth just gets filled in, right? Because that's not fur. All right, and then under his mouth, under his mouth, we're going to flick again, right? Because he has that, like, chin of fur. Okay, so under his mouth, we're going to flick again. Okay, and again, in the direction of the fur. All right, it's always in the direction of the fur. And then under his eyes is the really small fur, too. So we're just going to do some swoops. We're just going to do some swoops. Okay, we're just going to do a couple little swoops back and forth. No real flicking going on. All right, so we're going to swoop that in that way. And we're going to swoop this in this way. Alrighty. And I'm just swooping back and forth. That's all I'm doing. Just doing a little swoop, swoop. Alright. Okay, and then where his eyes are, obviously that's tiny fur too. So, his eyeballs are going to be right about there. So, I know, right, I'm just going to fill this in with some color. And again, I'm swooping in the direction where the fur would be going, even though it's really tiny fur. Even though it's really tiny fur, it's still going to go that way, right? So, we're going to go that way. So, just like that, guys, you have your map of how you're going to paint the fur on your lion. Okay, guys, you have your map on how you're going to paint the fur on your lion face. It's that easy. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. It's Java time. Okay? So, any animal that you're doing, that's what you wanted. Hi, Wendy. Oh, goodness, congratulations, Wendy. That's so awesome. Yay. Awesome. Another grandchild. Isn't that exciting? Okay, so, adding to this, I'm going to swirl tap dab my brush. And like I said, we're going to do a rainbow guy here. So I'm going to grab my white. And I'm going to grab my red now. I'm going to grab my white and my red. Okay? Because now the lion has... Hello, Kelly has his big mane, right? The big old mane. Okay? So we need to block in. And this I am going to flick. Literally putting it on and flicking it. That's what I'm doing. Okay? Again, in the direction of the fur. Okay, so I'm literally putting this on and just giving some flicks. Now, don't put a lot of paint on your brush, because then you're going to wind up with the paint all over your painting area. Like I do. So, don't put a lot of paint on your brush. Alright, so we're going to fill this in. We're going to fill this in, and I'm just working my way around, flicking it outwards. That's all I'm doing. All I'm doing, 6,000%. So, I'm going to flick it outwards this way. Okay. And then, I'm going to swirl tap dab my brush. And we're going to switch to yellow. Because the mane on top of a lion is kind of like long. Right? And scraggly. Okay. So, I'm trying to do every type of fur in a different color. Okay, so obviously on his face was the small, finer fur, right? Tiny. And then under the red is where the mane really comes out. And then now we're going to do the yellow. And the yellow is, which in my turn, you know, I think I'm going to do green. But let's put a base of yellow on there. Hello, Kelly. How you doing, sweetie? Kelly's in the house. Oh, yeah. So, the yellow, I'm probably going to turn to green later on, but let's just put the base of yellow on there. So, I'm grabbing white and yellow. I'm grabbing white with all of my colors. All of my colors. And this... and this, we're going to do like a squiggly. Alright? We're going to do a squiggly. Now... am I filling this all in? Yes. Are you going to see all your squigglies? No. But you are basically getting yourself primed. You're getting yourself ready for when you put the layers of fur on here. Okay, so you're telling your brain, you're setting your brain up. You're like, brain, when I get to this part, it's going to be squiggly. Alright, so that's why I'm doing squiggles. Can I see some of the squiggles? Yeah, I can see some of them. But when you're blocking in color, you're not going to see all these, you know, fine little details. But you are already training your brain. You're already training your brain to know that when you get to that part, it's going to be squiggles. Okay? That's what you're doing. So, I'm going to swirl tap dab my brush, and we're going to give you guys a chance to catch up. Mustard, I'm going to fix this so you don't get the shadow anymore. Because we figured out how to do that. Yeah, after a year and a half of doing videos, we figured out how not to have the shadow on the top of the canvas. Now it's a glare. I don't know. You got, whatever. I can't win sometimes. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me, all you new guys. I appreciate that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So exciting. And healing prayers for Penny. And congratulations for Wendy. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. So, we got Diane in the house, Cynthia, Kristen, Lisa B, Shirley's here, Gina and Tina M, Diane. I said Diane twice. Oh, there's two Dianes maybe? I don't know. We got Diane, Ruby, Tina B, Brenda, Wendy, and Kelly. Oh, yeah. So, thanks, Wendy. I just did roll call because I want this to dry. Okay? So, hello, Steph. How you doing, sweetheart? So, I want that to dry. Another key thing is when you're doing fur, you need to let it dry in between layers. Jackie's here. Just want to say hi tonight. Feeling tired, need rest. You'll join next Tuesday. Jackie. Healing prayers for Jackie, everybody. Healing prayers for Jackie. I know, it's like sick time for everybody. I don't know why. I don't know why it's sick time for everybody, but it is. It's not fun. It is not fun. Not fun at all. At all. So, Punky is here. Hi, sweetie. Punky's in the house. What you doing, Punky? How you doing, lovey? So, when you're doing fur, you want the layers to dry. If you don't let your layers dry, and you go to build on top of them, you're going to wind up with a big muddy mess. And you don't want to do that. It's been a while since you've caught me live and you replayed a few videos. Yes, Steph, yes, right? Replays are always, always, always available. Yes, but you were missed. Okay, so I'm going to grab my blue and my white. I'm using Big Boy still. You took yourself out to dinner tonight. I love doing that. That's like one of my favorite things to do. All right, and his ears, here's his eyes. So his ears are over here. Okay, so we're going to put the one ear in. There it is. There it is. Cute little lion ear. Right, and we're going to come over here. And I'm going to take my hand, follow it across the best of my ability. And there's the other ear. Okay, guys, I hope you guys are all practicing the spin move with Big Boy. Right? Show me the money. Right, guys? So those of you that don't know how to spin your brush, you turn around. You've been watching them on YouTube. Yes, Wendy. Yes. Night, Jackie. You're welcome. Do show me the money with your hands, right? Rub your thumb against your pointer finger like this. And then you're going to put your brush in the middle of that. And that is how you spin your brush. Okay, so everybody needs to practice that. Definitely practice the spinning of the brush move. It's a must. It's a must. All right, so I'm going to turn around and I'm going to grab a 1/2 inch flat. Same like Big Boy, except he's smaller. And I'm going to grab my black paint. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to put his eyeballs in here. So here's his cheekers, and Lion's eyes line up a little. The cheeks come out a little bit more than the eyes. So there's one here. All right. Spinning my brush. And there's one over here. Okay, there's my cheeker. So here is my eye. All right, there we go. Okay, so there's his eyes, and I can play with it a little bit. Not too much, right? We don't want to play with it too much because then he's going to have these big, massive eyeballs, and we don't want to do that. And just for fun, we can turn around and add the life dot, right? Just for fun. So he's staring at you guys. He's giving you guys the stare down. He's saying, make fur on me, make fur on me. Right? So that's what we're going to do. So, and the little highlight swoop. Right? The little highlight swoop. Easy peasy. Oh, lemon squeezy. Okay. So. Hi, Artist. How you doing, sweetie? Artist is in the house. What? Artist is hanging out with us. Hello, lovey. Yeah, you're gonna get crazy. You get crazy winter in Canada, don't you? Crazy winter. Okay, now that I have that 1/2 inch flat brush out, I'm gonna start with the tiny fur. Okay, so we're gonna do layer number 2 on the tiny fur. Artist, you got your brushes? Yes, so exciting. Beat those fluffies up. Beat them up. You want to lose bristles. That's the whole point. So I'm going to take my 1/2 inch flat and I'm just going to go over here and I'm pulling nice and thin, and I'm grabbing light blue, nice and thin on my brush, and I'm going to be doing motions like this. Okay? So, again, follow the direction of the fur. So, I'm going to do these little motions all the way up his snout, and then do the pieces that go outwards. Close up. Let me give you a close up so you can see what I'm doing. Artist got her brushes. Oh, yeah. And I'm going to add a little more white so you can see it better. Okay, so all I did was these little tiny motions going upwards. Okay, so right up the center of his snout here. All right, and he has a pretty big snout center. It's another thing, you know, when you're painting fur, you have to pay attention to, right, the thickness of the certain areas where the fur is going. Okay, so lions have a very thick centerpiece to their nose, so you want to pay attention to that. Okay, so here, there, not everywhere, and I just added more texture to his fur. Okay, now I'm going to grab the same color and I'm going to do the sides of his nose. And now the sides, right, the fur goes like down and out. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing, little tiny dabs, but we're going to change the direction that it's going in. Okay, and a couple over here, right? Just a little tiny dabs. That's all. Alright, and then for his cheekers, the same thing. Okay, so I'm going to go under his eye, and I'm just doing these little dabs now. I'm not even making sure they're lines. I'm making sure I'm going out, though. Making sure I'm going out. So, if there's one thing you guys take away from this how-to is when you're doing fur, go in the direction of the fur. That's 6,000% the most important thing about fur. Alright, so I am just adding these in, just doing little dashes. That's it. And now I'm going to wipe off my brush and I'm going to grab blue, because the sides is going to be darker than the top. So I'm grabbing just blue. And I can hold my brush pretty close, right? Because I want to make sure I'm just getting the sides of his nose. And I'm going to add just blue. Here, there, not everywhere, okay? And you want to stick and move. Keep it moving. Because if you don't keep it moving, you're going to wind up having it mush in to the lighter ones that you just did. Okay? So you want to make sure that you're keeping it moving. If you notice... Okay, Wendy, you enjoy your dinner. What are you making? Anything good? I always want to know what everybody else is eating, and then I get jealous. So if you notice, I'm putting it on and I'm keeping it moving. I'm sticking and moving, guys. Sticking and moving. Okay, very quickly. You don't have to have it be like rocket science. You just stick and move and fill it in. And I'm going to put a couple of pieces right here. Alright, just to define the snout a little bit better. I'm going to put a couple pieces right in there, and then I'm going to make some lighter pieces. I'm softening my touch as I move upwards. I'm softening my touch. Okay, and then right in here I'm going to put some bigger ones. Now, refill your brush. Don't start pushing. Don't start pushing with your brush, because then you're going to get thick, thick, thick lines, and you don't want that. You don't want those thick, thick, thick lines. Alright, now I'm going to go back to my white. Nanita just finished hot turkey sandwich and sweep today. That sounds so good, Carolyn. Nanita, can you watch this later? Absolutely, 6,000%. Hello, 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 Nanita. How you doing, love? And Carolyn's in the house. She just had turkey. YouTube. The YouTube link will be posted on the event page afterwards. Okay? And it's always available on page. So for his cheekers, that's such fine, thin fur that I am just going to do this sweeping motion. Very, very little paint. Very little paint. How much paint? A little bit. And I'm just going to do a sweeping motion because that fur is so tiny. We just want to add some texture on here, but we don't have to worry about doing all the different individual fur pieces. Okay, so I am just doing this sweeping motion with very little paint, dirty brush, grabbing the white. How do you send stars? I have no idea. Steak and sweet potatoes at your house. Oh, geez, artist, that sounds delicious, too. Penny, I hope you feel better, honey. Have a good night, sweetheart. Steak. I want steak. Kelly's hungry now. Wendy's having fried chicken wings, roasted sweet veggies, along with a... Oh, it's so good. Thank you, Punky, for sharing how to send stars. And thank you so much for sending stars. You guys are amazing. Shrimp fried... Boy, you guys eat good, fam. Shrimp fried diablo, steak, hot turkey sandwiches. You guys are like living large. So, very little paint on my brush. Hardly any at all I'm adding. Okay? So, hardly any paint. And I want to get the centers more white. and the outside. So if you're dealing with an animal that has tiny, tiny, tiny fur, you don't necessarily have to put every single strand of fur. You can turn around and just use a little bit of paint. You had fried clams? Oh, that sounds so good. Corn on the cob. Corn on the cob is the best. And Tina B went out. That's nice, Tina B. Right? And I'm just going to swoop his lip back in. Right? I'm going to swoop his lip back in. And I'm going to grab my dark blue paint. And Lisa V made beef stew. Oh, that sounds delicious too. And I'm going to grab my blue paint to do that dark area that's under his cheekers. Okay? Wiping off my brush. I'm going to grab some light paint. Clean that up a little bit. Alright. So, underneath his chin is the long pieces. Right? So I'm going to grab white paint. I'm going to make sure that my brush is nice and thin. I still didn't clean it yet. I'm just making sure it doesn't have any globs on it. And I'm going to hold my brush back here. That's alright, Wendy. Hijack away. I'm going to hold my brush back here and just do these pulling motions. And I'm just going to pull. Okay? Light touch, and I'm just going to pull. So whenever you're doing an animal and he has straight fur, you want a nice thin brush. Okay, nice and flat. You hold it back here, and you just pull. You just pull. That's all you need to do. Okay? And now, I'm going to wipe my brush off, and I'm going to grab my darker paint, my blue paint, and I'm going to put in some of the darker lines. Again, don't push harder when you run out of paint, because you want these to stay thin. Aw, thank you so much for the stars, Cynthia. You're amazing. Thank you so much for the support. You all warm my heart. Thank you. Don't start pushing with your brush, because you're going to turn around. While I have my dark on here, I'm going to fill this in a little bit darker there. You're going to wind up with thick lines. You don't want thick lines. Okay, so I'm going to wipe my brush off. I'm going to turn around, and I'm actually going to grab some pink. Okay, and I'm going to come into... oh, thank you so much, artists. Thank you, guys. I'm actually going to grab some pink, and I'm going to go right on his snout, and this is fur layer number 3. So I'm going to go right on his snout and throw some pink on there because his snout is dry. And I'm going to push this in a little bit. I want this nice and soft. So it's going to get rid of those hard edges. Okay, because fur is soft. So I want that nice and soft. Very little paint. And I'm going to grab a little bit more pink. And I'm going to come on his cheekers. And I'm just going to do little sweeps. Little sweeps. See that? Hardly touching. Hardly any paint. And I'm just going to do little sweeps. Now, if you were doing this not rainbow, okay, you would turn around and you can grab the color of the animal and just do a lighter version of it. And you just want to do, you know, if it has soft fur, that's it. You just do little sweeps to get rid of some of that hard edges. That's alright, Wendy. Just prop me up on the counter as you're getting dinner ready. And I'm going to do it on the sides here too. I'm just going to do, whoop, a little too much paint. See how that kind of just covered everything? I didn't want it to. Alright, so again, light paint. And I'm just doing these barely there sweeps. And I'm going to wipe most of it off. Okay, and then over here, just barely there sweeps. Because I want to soften those hard lines. So, that's how I soften the hard lines. Alright, so 6,000%. Let's move you back. let's start playing around with the fun stuff. Kind of looks like an old furry man, doesn't he? Let's give him a nose. Let's give him a nose so he doesn't look like a, let's see. What do I want to make his nose with? Let's grab Tiny. Tiny is a small round brush, guys, for details. That's what Tiny is. Okay, those of you who are new. Alright, let's give him a nose so he doesn't look like some weird old guy. Whoop, just like that. And I gotta do the bumpity bump. Alright, and do the bumpity bump over here. There, that's better. He's looking a little strange. He's looking a little strange. Okay, so now that's better. Now he's looking more lioness. Lion-like, lioness, whatever. Alright, so let's make that a little bit even. There. Okay. There we go. Much better. Much better. And I'm going to grab my white paint with my tiny brush, and I'm just going to throw a highlight on here. Shoop, 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 shoop. Right down the center. Alright. There we go. Now we got Mr. Lion. There we go. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Alright, so I'm going to turn around, and for this part, I'm actually going to grab Fluffy. So Artist got her brand new brushes, so she has Fluffies in the house. So I'm going to grab Fluffy's, a beat up bristly brush. Okay, and swirl tap dab them. And what this type of brush does is when you do the flicks, it's going to separate the hair. Alright, so we're going to go, I need more white paint, because my white paint has every color in it. It has every single color in it. We don't want that. Alright, so I'm going to grab my red, and I'm going to grab a little tiny bit of white now, right, because I want this to be a little darker. And I'm going to do the flicks. But the difference is when you flick with this brush, it's going to do more separation of your flicks. Again, here, there, not everywhere. And then just do like a little mini flick into the face, okay? So, again, here, there, not everywhere. Alright? You don't want to turn around and have globs and globs of paint. That's the one thing, guys, when you're doing fur, you do not want to deal with globs and globs of paint. Not a good idea. So if you notice right here, okay, I'm going to grab my red, I'm going to grab a little bit of white, and I'm going to flick outwards. See how this Fluffy makes that like awesome thing go on? And then for into the face, I'm just going to do some flicks inwards, okay? So you do not want to use a lot of paint because you could always add more. But if you have this big globby mess going on, you're just gonna wind up with a big muddy mess, and you're not gonna see, because fur is all tiny little hairs, right? How many hairs do we get around our house from our fur babies, right? So fur is just a ton. I almost said a bad word. A ton of hairs. So if you turn around and use too much paint, you're not going to get that separation. I just grabbed more red. You're not going to get that separation that you need to show that it is fur. Alright, I'm going to swirl tap dab my brush. Okay. And I'm going to do the yellow now. Alright, so I'm going to grab white. And I'm going to make the yellow green. I made the executive decision. I'm going to make the yellow green so you guys can see it better. So, I'm going to turn around. And I'm going to grab I'm going to grab my blue. I'm going to grab my yellow. I'm going to grab my white. Okay, and I'm going to dab, dab, dab. And I don't want to overmix this. I'm using Fluffy again. I don't want to overmix this because if you leave the colors all separated on your brush, you don't have to go in and do separate colors and make all sorts of separations. So, I'm going to do a very light touch because I have a lot of paint on here. Isn't he adorable? I love him. I like him a lot. So, if you turn around, right, I have a lot of paint on here after I just said don't use a lot of paint. So, I'm going to put in, get rid of some of this paint. Now these, remember, it curves. So I want to flick that way. Okay? So remember that they curve, right? And I want to wipe off my brush. I'm going to give it a good smashing to get all that extra excess paint out of there. Because after I just did a whole speech about don't use a lot of paint. Okay, so see that? See how all the colors are still separated on my palette? And what's cool about that, I'm just going to do a little dab dab in there, is that it'll go separated onto your canvas. And then you don't have to work extra hard to get all those tiny little details. Let me give you a close-up. Close-up! I didn't even mean to do that close-up. It's just how I grabbed the camera. Okay, so I'm going to go in that pile of paint that I left all separated, and when I put it on, it's going to have those separations of color for me without having to work so hard. So when you're doing fur, don't overmix your paint. Let the brush do the work. And now I'm just going to do some little sweeps inwards. Okay? And you have to stick and move. Okay? If I keep painting over this, trying to make it perfect, I'm going to wind up losing all that separation. And I don't want to lose all that separation because I don't want to work at putting it in. So you keep the colors separated on your palette, and then you just do a little mini dip into that color pile, and then you turn around and you get all this little awesomeness going on, and you didn't even have to work at it. I'm literally just doing a flick with my brush. You guys see me. So that is one good trick for fur. Now remember, these guys are bending this way. Okay, so you got to make sure you're bending. Okay, and this is just going to be layer 1. I'm going to come back in and do another layer to really define it. Whoop! Haha! He's going to have a lot of hair. A whole lot of fur. A whole lot of fur. Alright, so, and I'm just doing these push-outs right here. Okay, and then by his ear, I'm just going to fill that in for now. I'm going to deal with that when I do my last layer. Alright, so I'm going to do this real fast like, okay, to fill this all in. Right, so what did I tell you so far, right? First thing is main thing, follow the direction of your fur. Right? Second thing is let your layers dry completely before you start adding more to it. Okay? Let the layer dry completely before you start adding more to it. If you want to soften your lines, you can do a sweep over the detailed lines that you did to soften them out. And I say sweep because it's very little amount of paint and you kind of just pat it on there. Okay? The next thing was you want to turn around and don't overmix your colors on your palette or your brush. Okay? This way you get the separation of colors for the fur without having to work hard at it. Right? And you don't even have to like pre-mix. You could like dunk in blue, dunk in yellow, dunk in the white, you know what I mean? And then just to do a boop boop like that. And that'll definitely give you the separation of colors. And say you want like the one part to be dark. So you dunk, when you dunk in blue, just give it a good dunk. Right? When you dunk in the blue, just give it a good dunk. Okay, so we're sweeping. I lost my ear. The ear disappeared, guys. I lost the ear. Alright, now kind of do a little zigzag zoom. Get that into his face more. Alright, so I'm going to put that brush away, and I'm going to take out, I want to show you, even though I softened this for the look of the lion, I want to show you how to do tiny fur. Like if you were doing those animals, like a squirrel, or, I don't know, some other tiny little furry creatures, a mouse, stuff like that, because they have tiny, tiny, tiny fur, right? So I want to show you how to do the tiny, tiny, tiny fur. Even though I softened and blended this and everything else, because I was going with the lion, I want to show you the tiny, tiny, tiny fur. Alright, so with tiny, tiny, tiny fur, you have to work rather quickly. Okay, so I'm going to take my 1/2 inch flat again, just because of the space size, and I'm going to turn around and I'm going to put my darkest color first. Okay, so I'm going to put a very, very light amount of blue on here. Okay, so I know I messed up his cheek, but I want to show you this. Okay, so I put my darker color first. Very thin amount of paint. Now, I'm going to turn around and I'm going to grab Mr. Nifty. Mr. Nifty comes with support, guys. So anybody who sends me support, you're going to get Nifties for free. Just turn around, and if you're doing the stars, lovelies, because you're amazing, just make sure that I get your address, okay? Alright, so that being said, now I'm going to grab a lighter color. Alright, so I'm going to do 3 colors, right? Dark, light blue, and then white. So I'm going to take Mr. Nifty, and I'm going to come in here. I have to make it lighter because you guys can't see what I'm doing. And you want to make sure that your paint is nice and thin and loose, which mine is not. So, and to do that, you just add some water to it. That's all you need to do. So, I am going to turn around and white, blue, and a little bit of water. Make sure your paint is nice and thin and loose. Okay, so now you can do dark to light. You can do light to dark. It's pretty much personal preference. It doesn't really matter. It's your painting, you know. So whatever you want to do. Lots of times, Diane, did I send your Nifties? No, because I never got your address, hon. I need your address, sweetie. Message it to me. So you could switch between the two if you want to. Like, sometimes I like to do that because that's the way I am. So you can have all your piles of color and then just kind of alternate between them. Like, I like to do that too. I always switch back and forth, just the way I am. Again, I'm following the direction of the fur, and I'm putting these tiny, tiny, tiny little pieces in. And every time my hand moves away, I'm grabbing more paint. Right? Again, you don't want to start pushing with the brush. You don't want to start pushing with the brush to turn around. And, because then your lines are going to get thick. So you don't want to do that. Yes, sweetie. 6,000%. Send me your address, lovey. And I will have your nifties out to you ASAP. Okay, so I'm going to put all these in. And see, so if I push with my brush, right, because I'm getting lazy. See that thick, icky line? That's why you don't want to push with your brush. But I'll show you how to fix that if you do wind up with a line like that. Okay, so I'm going to go in. Just like that. Alright, I'm going to wipe off my brush. And now I'm going to grab just blue. So if you get a thick line like that, just grab your darker color and kind of push through it. And it'll go away. Now, I got to let this dry. Can you show how to do the tiny dark fur around an eye? My cat looks like she has a black eye. Yes, Carolyn, I could totally show around the eye fur. You got it. Because I got to let this dry anyway. Okay, so now I'm going to grab Tiny and let's go around his eye. So, same concept, all right? So I'm going to grab the dark color first. And I'm just going to come in here and smush in the darker color. Okay, so one of the how-tos I'm going to do, I think I'm going to do a how-to on animal eyes. It's definitely in the works. So I'm just smushing this color and that's all I'm doing. Okay, so I grab the darker color. I grab just blue and I'm smushing this all in. Right in that eye socket area. That's in there. Now, I'm going to swirl tap dab my brush. I'm going to swirl tap dab my brush and I'm going to grab the lighter color. Okay, and I'm going to come in and do all the little pieces of the lighter color. So when you do your lighter color, you're going to soften out that dark. And then that's how, like, see this hard edge right here? When I do the lighter color, it's going to soften that. See how that softened right out? Okay. See this hard edge right there between the light and the dark? So I'm using the lighter color. And if I go and just do some dabbing, some little tiny strokes, it's going to soften that all out. Okay. So it's going to soften that line. And now I'm going to swirl tap dab my brush. And I'm going to go into an even lighter color. And see, like right here, you can see a hard line. So if you turn around and I'm going to go into even a lighter color. And I'm dabbing this on. Now, again, you should wait for this to dry, which I didn't do, so it's getting a little muddy looking, but it's the same exact concept as if you did the cheek, as doing the cheek. So we're going to do the same thing on the cheek. So around those hard edges, I'm doing these dashes. Haha, this stuff's dry already. I love acrylic paint, man. So, and then I'm just doing soft little, like, see that? How I'm kind of smushing just a little bit just to soften it out. Okay, so it's up to you. If you guys like showing every single little hair, right, you wouldn't do this. But I like making it nice and soft. So I'm just smushing with no paint on my brush and I'm softening all that out. So I still get the texture, but it's not all individual hairs like the cheek. See the difference? So that is how you would do around the eye and make it so they don't have a black eye. You have to soften your lines. You have to soften your lines up. And then you do that by dark, lighter, even lighter as you move out. as you move your way out. Okay? And if you wind up going over your eyeball, just fix it. Just fix it. That's all. Okay, so cheek is dry. So I'm going to try not to soften this because that's what I like to do. I want to show you all the individual colors. So now I'm going to go in with my dark color again. And this is going to be dark by the nose. Okay, again, I'm just doing little flicks. So it's going to be dark in the nose. It's going to be dark in this little centerpiece here. Okay. You're welcome, Carolyn. No worries. Yes, guys, 6,000%. If you have a question during any one of my videos, ask me. There is no dumb question. I will definitely answer you to the best of my ability. Okay? So if you have a question, this is your time. This is your practice session. And it's going to be darker underneath. So I'm doing the flicks of the dark underneath. Okay? And, you know, I'm going to soften it. I can't. It's just the way I roll. Now, you want to turn around and do, like, on this edge here, you're going to want to, like, go like this to follow the edge. But remember, you have to follow the direction of the fur. So don't start outlining your shape and changing the direction of you painting. Don't do it. Okay, guys? You don't do it. I know you want to because your hand's going around something, but you don't want to change the direction of the fur. Okay, so I have that all looking darker on the outer edges and by his nose here. And then I'm just going to add a couple, just a little bit, not a lot, just a little bit, just a little bit. Wiggle it just a little bit. I'm just going to add a couple in here. Here, there, not everywhere. And now I'm going to go in with the middle color. I'm going to go in with the middle color and I'm going to add little tiny dabs here of the middle color. So it's a building thing. You have to build it up. You can't just turn around and slap paint on here and think you're going to get what you want to get. Okay? You have to build it up. Hi, Delaney. How long did it take you to learn all of these? Okay. Hi, Delaney. How you doing? Everybody give a big Eve's Creations Paint Party family welcome to Delaney. She's new in the house. Delaney, I've been painting for 30 plus years, hon. I'm self-taught. I started as a young teenager watching Bob Ross. And I just been painting ever since. So, guys, the more you paint, the better you're going to get. All right. So, now we're up to, I'm not going to do like I'm not going to do this and I'm not going to do that because I already showed you and we'll be here for like ever if I did every part. All right, but I do have to put my ear back in. It's bothering me. Lion needs his ear. Where was it? It was over here somewhere. I don't know where the ear went. We lost the ear. We got to put that back in. He needs his ear. Alright. So, and thank you for the stars, Delaney. I really appreciate that. Okay, so we're going to show how to do the dark and the light in this fur. Okay? And I'm going to go back to Big Boy. I'm going to go back to Big Boy. So, I'm going to swirl tap that Big Boy. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some purple. So I'm going to add red to this blue and white that I have sitting over here. Alright, and I'm going to make some purple. So, what I want to tell you too, guys, is that you don't have to turn, I have to grab more blue. You don't have to turn around and add black to everything to make something darker. You don't have to add black to every time you want to make something darker. You could always just choose a darker color. Alright, so just keep that in mind, okay? You don't always have to add black. You could always turn around and just create a darker color. Alright, so I got purple going on over here. So white, blue, and red. See? Got some purple going on. Okay, again, I'm going to leave it separated on my brush. And I am going to wipe some of this paint off because there's just way too much. So another thing is that you want to pay attention to what's going on in your brush. Okay, guys? So, because if you have globs on your brush, you're going to get globs on your painting. If you have, like, say you're using your palettes getting a little dirty and you go to grab a color, but another color might sneak in there. If you don't look at your brush, you're going to wind up with a color on here you don't want. So you have to pay attention to what's going on with your brush, okay, guys? Always check your brush when you're going to go do something. Make sure you have what you want. So I am just literally going and tapping in there. See the separation of colors? Okay. And I'm going to hold my brush this way now because I want to get that idea of fine hairs. And they're long. So we're going to do a swoop. That's it. It's just a swoop. Swooping it out. Alright, so I am going to right where the face in this meets. Okay? And again, here, there, not everywhere. Alright, so if you see me, I'm doing a flick. But see that? That's because I pressed, because I was running out of paint on my brush. Alright? I'm a culprit of being a lazy painter too. It's like, oh, I gotta grab more paint. What? That's just too much. But you should. Because you're gonna wind up pressing harder, and then you're gonna wind up with this thick line, and you're gonna be like, how did that happen? Where did that come from? Okay? So if you notice, I am just doing a flick, and I'm making sure that the paint on my brush is nice and thin, and my brush is nice and flat, and I'm going to try not to be a lazy painter. See, it's starting to get thick because I have to wipe my brush off and grab more paint. So I get these. Now, to get the longer hairs, I'm holding it here. I'm starting where it would start, and I'm doing like a pull, like that, and then just letting it drop off. Okay? Again, a lot has to do with what's on your brush. So I'm putting it on my canvas, and I'm holding it there, and I'm just pulling through like that. Just pulling in the direction. Oop, I got it in his cheek. That's what spit's for, guys. When you go out of the lines. That's what spit's for. Okay. Would it be beneficial to paint black under an area of an animal when beginning to cover, for example, light brown or beige fur? I'm not a fan of black. If you notice, when I did my base color, I didn't even make it that dark of a base color, and then I added darkness to it. The thing about using black or having dark paint is, I mean, unless it's so completely dry, but some of the paint, especially brown, you could still see through it. So, to cover your black, no. My answer to your question, Carolyn, is no. Not, yeah. A base color, I would have it the color that you want it to be. So say you're doing fur that's not rainbow, right? So you have browns. Everything you guys do when you do this, you want to make sure you have 3 kinds, right? You have a base color, basically just brown. Then you have a darker version of that and a lighter version of that. So the easiest way to do this is you put your base color in, and then you could add your darkness. And then you could add your lightness. Or, you know, you could add your lightness and then your darkness on top of the base color. So that's how I would suggest doing it. I wouldn't suggest starting with your darkest color and building it up. Can you do that? Yes. Could you run into problems doing that if your paint isn't complete, you know, covering? Yes. So I would always start with a base color, like I started with the red. Now I'm adding the dark, and now I'm going to add the light to it. So that being said, I always like to go in the middle, one direction, then the other direction. I hope that made sense. Alright, so now I'm going to turn around and I'm going to grab white, and I'm going to grab my red. Okay, good. I'm glad that made sense, Carolyn. And if you guys ask me a question and I miss it, just ask it again, because sometimes I don't see all of your comments. So now I'm doing the same thing with my brush, nice and thin and flat. Oh, see, I got globs on there. Don't want globs. I'm pulling it nice and thin and flat on the side of my palette. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do the same thing using the lighter paint. Now, I'm just doing sweeps. And my purple wasn't completely dry. I mean, if you guys like doing your fur and having it to where you could see every single hair, then definitely you have to let everything completely dry. If you like it like me, and I like it being soft, you don't have, I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, you don't have to turn around and have it be completely dry. So it's up to you. What I'm doing with this, remember when I added the peach to soften this up? That's what I'm kind of doing now with this lighter color. I'm just sweeping it on here and softening everything out. Now, the softening, you don't have to do the softening. I like the softening. I like my fur to look fluffy and soft, and like you just want to squish it and you just want to hold on to them and love them and squeeze them and call them George. It is amazing the difference it makes for the entire face by the contouring around the eyes. Yes, right? That doesn't... This side of his face, it's like when you do those makeup tutorials and they only do half your face. So, this side of his face is, without it, this one, see this right here, I don't like the separation. You guys, this is bothering me so much. I want to go in and soften it out, but that's my OCD. So, yeah, so... But it's personal preference. It really is. That's why I'm showing you both. But I seriously want to, like, soften this so bad. Like, you have no idea. Anywho, let's do some roll call. And then I'm going to show you how to do longer, wavier fur. Okay? So we're going to do the layer on here. And I think I showed you everything, right? I showed you the tiny little pieces of fur. I showed you how to soften. Right? How to do from shadow to light, right? We did some shadowing on here and then made it brighter. You don't like the separation either. Yeah, some people do, some people don't. Like this, you can see more separation than this side. Hey, it's personal preference. I've seen all sorts of different types of animal pictures, but if you ever see one of mine, most likely it's going to be softened. I do pet portraits. If you guys ever go on my website, which is www.evesartistry.com, which needs updating bad, but I turn around and I have a page that's my pet portraits. And if you look at my pet portraits, all of their fur is soft. So, anybody that wants pet portraits done, let me know. I love doing pet portraits. They're the best. Okay, so I swirl tap that big boy. And I'm going to come in here and we're going to do the wavy fur. Which is basically the same thing. It's just with your brush, you're going to change what you're doing. Alright, so I have my base color and I have separation in that because we didn't overmix. And I'm going to grab blue. So now I'm going to do my darker color. So I'm grabbing blue. And what you want to do is you're just going to, I'm holding my brush back here. So that helps too to give you a lighter touch. Alright, so if you are doing the control freak death grip, you're going to wind up with thick lines. Everything should be sweeping and soft and movement. So the further back you hold your brush, the less control you have, but the more you get a softness and a sweeping from it. Okay? So I'm holding it back here, and I'm going to pull, and then we want to put like a wave in there, right? So there's the wave. Okay, there's the little wave. I just wiggled my brush a little bit. All right, and now I'm gonna do a couple of dark pieces in that wave. All right, now, and I'm gonna follow pretty much the same pattern. So I'm pressing hard now, but basically I'm just mapping how I want my waves to go. I'm going to wind up covering those thick lines. And blue is so see-through that it doesn't even matter. But I just want to map the wave. Whoop. Okay. So now I'm going to grab that mess that I made before. This mess. I'm just going to put that on my brush. And I'm going to follow that wave again. Okay. And I'm just kind of like going under it or next to it. Okay, no really rhyme or reason. And you just want to, you don't want to lose it completely. All right, I have a tendency of doing that. I have a tendency of, I'll put the dark in and then I'll do the light and then I lose the dark. So I wind up having to bounce back and forth, which is fine. So I'm going to wipe my brush off, and now I'm going to grab the blue again, because I lost my dark doing my lights. So now I'm doing the pull. So you guys, you know, you don't have to wait for this to be completely dry if you want like a softer look. If you want to see your separation of fur, you have to wait for everything to be completely dry. Okay, also, I'm not waiting for it to be completely dry because I'm not really painting where I painted before. And then now I'm going to grab, I'm going to wipe my brush off, and I'm going to do the lightest version. Alright, so I'm going to add white, and I'm going to do the light, the money pieces, right? There we go. The lighter version. Okay, so I'm literally picking spots that are in between what I painted before. So that's another reason I don't have to wait for it to be dry, because I'm not painting where I put the other wiggle. So doing wavy fur is just a matter of following your shape and then doing darks and lights in the wavy fur. And again, don't keep brushing over, don't paint over stuff you painted, because you're going to wind up with a muddy mess, and you don't want to wind up with a muddy mess. Alright, I'm going to wipe my brush off, and I'm going to go back to dark. Notice how I'm skipping from light to dark to middle. That's just the way I roll. You could do all your dark first if you want to. You can do all your light first. It's totally up to you. Right? So I am just cleaning up in front of his ears. right? And I'm going to grab some yellow, and I'm going to grab some blue, because I ran out of my original color. And I'm going to put some of those in. And now I'll wait. Now I'll wait for it to dry, because I'm going to turn around and do some pieces that cross over. So if you're going to do pieces that cross over, you have to wait for it to dry. And you know, if you do it while it's wet, that's up to you. Sometimes I'm impatient like that too. I get it. Trust me. It's all good. So, and then over here, I'm just going to turn around and do some more swoops. Right? With it being, it could help if I was actually showing you what was up. I'm going to do some more swoops in here. When it's dry, here, there, not everywhere, just to add even more depth to the fur. Okay, here, there, not everywhere. And the more layers you do, the more it's going to have depth to it. So the more layers you do, the more depth it's going to have. Okay, guys? So, I want to show you, before I do the crossover pieces, because that's the last thing I need to show you. So this Friday, what? Oh, yeah. This Friday, I got a surprise for you guys. So, this is Friday, right? Our flower garden, so pretty. Okay. And then the Friday right before Valentine's Day, we got Mr. Nosy Gnome. Yeah, so those of you who are new that are on here, Nosy Gnome is a series. We did Thanksgiving, Christmas, now we got Valentine's. He's a little player, right? Look at all the Valentines he gets. Okay. After that, we're going to have Catch a Star. So that is going to be our galaxy. The how-to that week is going to be how to paint a galaxy. So pay attention to that coming up. So we have our dream catcher. Then it's going to be Shamrock time. I love this guy so much. We got Patty Porcupine. So there's our Patty Porcupine. You can kind of see like a little bit of the fur deal going on in there, even though it's spikes. Same thing though, base color, lighter and darker. Okay, so we got Patty Porcupine, and I just finished, before I popped on, I was almost late tonight because I was painting, go figure. We're going to have our, this is a new one, I didn't even post it yet. We're going to have our Shamrock vase. So, I suggest before we do this one, find my how-to glass video. So this is the newest one that we're going to do. After Patty Porcupine, we got Shamrock vase. Okay? So I literally just finished this before I came on tonight. So you guys always ask me for flowers. So there you go. We're doing flowers, people. Oh, yeah, and I have a how-to flowers and I have a how-to glass out there, so you guys can do it. You love the new one? Thank you, Carolyn. Love the flowers. Thank you so much, Diane. Yeah, I like it too. I like it a lot. Yes, I do. Okay, so I'm going to swirl tap dab my brush, and when you're doing wavy fur, thank you so much, guys. When you're doing wavy fur, you want to do some crossover pieces. Okay, so when you do your crossover pieces, and I'm just going to grab my purple because I'm out of blue. Love the Shamrock vase. They are all great. Thank you, Punky, so much. So when you do your crossover pieces, okay, it's the same deal, but now you're just crossing over pieces of fur. And what I like about the crossover pieces is now you just added a whole new wave. All of this automatically went back, and this became in the front. So you could turn around and add a whole other layer of hair just by doing a crossover piece. So don't be afraid to cross over. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. And again, I am just filling in the different colors in there. That's all I'm doing. So don't be afraid to do a crossover piece, because it adds depth. It adds depth. So even with wavy fur, and I'm making it a, see how that got all muddy and icky and not separate anymore? That's what happens if you keep painting while your stuff is too wet. That's what's going to happen. It's going to wind up blending together and not be all separated. Hi, Judy. Welcome to the fam, hun. Thank you so much. So, guys, that's it. How to fur. You guys got it. So now you guys can go and paint all your little critters and your animals and have all that fun with that. I'm not going to fill in the rest because there's no reason to. I showed you how to do it. Always free to watch. Tips are appreciated. I have Venmo, PayPal, and Cash App. The links are on the event page. And your daughter has West Highland Terriers, and that is how their fur is crossed over. Yes! See? So now you don't be afraid of a crossover, guys. It definitely adds to it. Makes you look like you know what you're doing. You're welcome, Lisa. Now when you do a chipmunk, you'll be able to, thank you so much, Cynthia. Thank you for all our new peeps that were on tonight. Welcome to the fam, Lisa, Diane, and Brenda, and Anita, and all Delaney, and anybody else that was brand new. Welcome to the fam. We'll see you on Friday, 7 p.m. So excited. So our flower garden is Friday. You were so welcome, Brenda. Thank you so much. Sipping my Java. You put me on your windowsill? That's hysterical. I love it. I like it a lot. Good night, Brenda. You're welcome, artists. I'm so glad you got your brushes. Have fun with them. It's the same brushes every video. Some of the how-tos I use a different brush, but every single Friday, that's the only brushes you're going to need is those brushes. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much, Tina M. I was excited to do this one. Because I wanted to do the lion. I'm like, what am I going to do tonight? I'm like, oh, I could do a lion. That shows you all the different types of fur. Right? We got straight fur, tiny fur, wavy fur, all sorts of fur. Butter's fur. He's being a good boy. He's lounging. He was snacking before, now he's lounging. And the replay will be on YouTube. My sister's doing pretty good with getting the current videos up on YouTube. Subscribe. And like my videos, guys, because then if I get enough on following, I can start posting stuff right on YouTube. Learned a lot. Thank you, Tina B. I love you. I'm glad you learned a lot. And if any, you're just watching, but I have to do this for my granddaughter. Oh, yes, Tina M. Totally. Totally do it. 6,000%. There's a rainbow tiger in my in my videos from like last year. I did a little Begna that joins us every once in a while. She wanted a rainbow tiger, so we have a rainbow tiger there too. Oh, you're welcome, Tina B. And any of you, if you ever painting have any questions, 6,000% message me. Message me with any questions you may have while you're creating. I do not mind. How cute, love it. We'll paint on replay. Awesome, Katie. Thank you so much. So this Friday's flower garden, and then after that we have nosy gnome. So I don't know what the how-to is gonna be. I'll have to figure it out. Night. Good night, everybody. You're welcome, Wendy. Have a great night, sweetheart. On that note, I'm going to say goodnight. So, thank you, everybody, for watching me tonight. Y'all warm my heart. Have fun and go create, okay? Good night.